Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Babs Akinyanju, and I am your host and convener of the Criminal Justice Advisory Group, CJAG. CJAG is a loose network of professionals in the criminal justice system who share my passion for wanting to modernize and improve the criminal justice system in Nigeria. Now, I know that what I'm talking about is not new and there have been initiatives in the past. But from what we have witnessed in these last few weeks in Nigeria with the EndSARS protests and other pressing issues, I think that if we come together and work collaboratively, we would be able to advise and assist major government agents and agencies in Nigeria in bringing about a criminal justice system that fits 21st century Nigeria. So the aim is to have sessions like this, roughly on a monthly basis, where I bring speakers from the public sector and the private sector, and we can talk about procedures that we can use to, like I say, help improve services to court users in all criminal jurisdictions in Nigeria. Our first speaker is Adedumade Oniboko, managing partner of his law firm in Lagos. Adedumade holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from the Adebisi Onabanjo University. He was called to the Nigerian bar in 2011 and subsequently obtained a master's degree from the University of Bradford in the UK. I first met Adedumade a few years ago when he was serving as an intern in Pump Court Chambers, and he was dealing with a lot of international law agreements. Since then, he has moved on to greater things. He does run a law blog in Nigeria where he focuses mainly of informing the public about the provisions of the law, and it's with a view to ensuring that Nigerians are aware of their civil rights, duties and obligations in law. Adedumade has also written a number of books on Nigerian law.
I know. But people are still going there. People are still expressing what they've been through. People are still hoping that the best will come out. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, Adedumade. I think it's one to watch because, as I understand it, the panel can award compensation. It will be left to see how that will actually pan out. I mean, one witness I was watching said he had already got judgment against, I cannot remember whether it's the Commissioner of Police or the IGP, for the injuries he had suffered. He had got a high court judgment in quite a lot of money, maybe two, but of course that was about 2 years ago, and that hadn't been paid. And I just thought to myself, well, if a court has already found in his favor, then why is another tribunal, raking over the same ground? And really, it should be a question of how is that judgment going to be enforced? So I think
if I can just, so sorry to interject. If I can just explain. For those, I'm sure a lot of people might know, but some may not. So I just want to explain why that is happening. So the law says that when you get a judgment against a government agency, you have to then get approval from the Attorney General of the Federation to sign off on that judgment. before you can pay. Now, is the defendant into how can someone who's a defendant, whose judgment has been given against him, be also be the person who you are asking to go and meet before that judgment can be enforced? That is one. So there's a huge problem of that. There are so many judgments that have not been enforced, so many, because people are now looking for political ways to get their judgment enforced. So they are saying, please, do you know the age? Please, do you know someone that knows the age so that you can please call the age and they can beg the age that you should please give us the judgment sum. And it is not even the age that is giving the judgment sum, but let's assume the judgment sum is against the police. And I say that you should please sign off. Then when you sign off from the age, that is one battle. You now go and meet the authority and say, okay, the AG has given us rights for you to pay. You serve them with a demand notice. You do not even bother to give you an acknowledgement. So you don't even know what's going on with that. You now go to the CBN and say, okay, I want to garnish the accounts of the police based on the judgment sum. CBN too will now make it an almost impossible task, to the extent that you now have to institute legal proceedings against the AG before the AG will hear you. You have to institute proceedings against the CBN government again, because before that one hear you, and all that is just because you want to enforce a judgment against the government. Terrible situation, if you ask.
Yes. Yes. It just begs the question, like you say, how justice will actually be achieved. I think our next speaker is about to come on.
Right, thank you. My next speaker is Itoro Ezeanaba. Itoro is an experienced lawyer. She had been practicing law for 25 years and has been involved in the promotion and protection of women's rights in Nigeria. She is the founder and managing director of the Mirabel Center, which is a medical and psychosocial support center to survivors of rape and sexual assault. Itoro was involved in the drafting of the first ever domestic violence bill in Nigeria and was engaged in an advocacy campaign for its passage into law in 12 states and at the National Assembly. She is very active in gender rights across the board, having opened the Mirabel Center in Lagos, and more recently another center in Sokoto. Thank you very much for joining us, Itoro.
Itoro.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
I'm sorry I'm joining so late.
No worries. Thank you for joining us. We've just heard from one of the speakers who is in Lagos with you, and really he had kind of gone through the issues that I think court users we are facing right from the beginning of this year with COVID, and during the lockdown, of course, there are no virtual hearings. And then, of course, when the NSAS protests started, it meant that there was difficulty actually accessing the courts because of the traffic situation. Then, of course, we had the terrible incident in 20th of October and the looting that followed, and really things still seem very much in a state of flux. But thank you for joining us. So just to say that Itoro Ezeanaba is a legal practitioner, and she runs the Mirabel Center in Lagos. Now, Itoro, I know that you are very pressed for time. They're about to make us dinner. So If you just want to spend a few minutes just telling us about what Mirabel Center does, and how you see the challenges of prosecution of sexual offenses, we'll be grateful.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all. Thank you for having me on this program. My name is Itoreze Anaba, and I work with the Mirabel Center. The Mirabel Center is a sexual assault referral center that provides free medical and psychosocial support to survivors of rape and sexual violence. We opened this center on July 1, 2013. So we're about 7 years old now, and we've seen close to 6,000. We're almost at 6,000 clients now. Our youngest client is 3 months old.
Oh.
And the oldest is 82 years old, grandma that was raped, gang raped actually, organized by her caregiver. This year in March, we also opened another center in Sokoto called Nana Khadija Center. Nana Khadija Center provides the same kind of support, but this time to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. While Lagos is restricted to just rape and sexual violence, the center in Sokoto takes care of survivors of all kinds of gender-based violence. And in Sokoto, we've noticed that we've seen a lot of male clients in Sokoto within this short period, unlike in Lagos state. We've seen a total of more than almost 160 clients in Sokoto since we started in March, and over 30% of that are male clients. Now, when it comes to prosecution of cases of rape in particular, our clients find it difficult, even though Lagos State has put in place some kind of structure that can help them to access justice. Lagos State has the family support units at some police stations, and also has the domestic and sexual violence response team made up of several different members of service providers, different types of service providers that can provide expedited services once called upon to do that. But we all know that the Nigerian police is a federal institution, so the challenges faced by clients at times cannot be, successfully dealt with by the Lagos State government, even though they try as much as they can. One is the fact that after training these police officers in the next, within the next 6 months or a year, when they're supposed to be using these skills they've been trained on, they get transferred to another station, to another state, to another beat. So you have to continuously start afresh. And once they get transferred, there's no institutional memory. So they just go with whatever the skills and information you had imparted to them. Then we also have the major issue of lack of skills, investigation skills by the police officers. Even though members of the family support units have been trained, they still do not have the skills. So we have situations where the police officer, if he's available, if he or she is on seat, will tell you, go back home. When you see the alleged perpetrator, you let us know. So the survivor becomes the investigator, holding on and looking around to see, is he back on the streets? Is he back in the house? And then she will have to call the police officer. Oh, I've seen him. He's somewhere there. So the police will have to then go pick him up. But even at that, the survivor at times will be asked to provide the means of transportation. So the fact that you have seen the perpetrator is not a guarantee that the perpetrator will be arrested, because the police officer will tell you, I don't have the means of, arresting the perpetrator. I don't have a car. I've not been given transportation to effect any kind of arrest. And so until that is taken care of, there's nothing I can do. And that becomes a major problem. We've had cases where both the perpetrator and the survivor are brought to the center for, for interrogation. And we tell them that is very wrong. You cannot put the alleged perpetrator and the survivor in the same vehicle, and expect to get something good out of it. And while cases are adjourned severally, most of the time it's the survivor that has to take care of the costs of the adjournment. So the case is adjourned to next month. The investigating police officer will tell you, oh, your case is coming up next month. So you're expected to provide the transportation cost for the police officer to be in court. Now, if the perpetrator was arrested and is in prison, correctional center, it is the responsibility of the survivor most of the time to provide the means of transportation for the alleged perpetrator that is in the correctional center, without which the alleged perpetrator will not be brought to court and the case will be adjourned again. So the connection between the investigating police officer, the correctional center, and the court is not well coordinated. So every step of accessing justice for the survivor is at the cost of the survivor 90% of the time. So what we do at the center is we try as much as possible to take that burden off the survivor so that she will be able to stay within that system and be able to, be in court to the end of that process in order to get justice. But another major problem for us is the fact that there is a disconnect between the office of the DPP and the police. Now, the investigation police officer completes the investigation to the best of his ability or her ability, and then sends a file, which is funded by the survivor, to the office of the DPP. Now, the question I always ask is, why is it not possible for a staff of the DPP office to be contacted once a case has been reported, so that the DPP office works hand in hand with the IPO to determine the kind of evidence that is needed to prosecute a particular case? In that way, the IPO would not have to mess up the investigation and then send the file to the DPP office, and this process takes about 3 to 6 months. So after the incident, the survivor has to wait that long before the case is heard in court. Now the IPO will send it to maybe a magistrate court, and the magistrate court will give the order that the case should be sent to DPP office for advice. This takes about 3 to 6 months. By the time the case is heard in court or the trial starts or whatever, the survivor is already tired. The survivor has moved on. The survivor does not believe justice can be accessed at that point. So why is there a gap between the investigation police officer and the office of the DPP, so that right from the onset, you know that this is the evidence you're looking for as you go to the crime scene? And so where the evidence is not there, the office of the DPP will tell you immediately, this is not available, go ahead and get it. And that process can then be reduced so that it could take just a week. And so you don't need to wait for the advice from the office of the DPP that will take about 3, 4, 5, 6 months before the case actually starts. Because that's where the problem is. It's within that period that the survivor is suppressed, is extorted, is intimidated, is threatened, by the perpetrator. And it's also at that point that there's, we have offer of, settling out of court. Let's get this out of court. It's taking too long. Why don't you take this 50,000 naira? And the police would actually facilitate that settlement. And most of the time they'll offer probably 200,000. Then they bring the advance of 20,000. The police will tell you to take it. They take their own cut, and the survivor signs for it and doesn't see the balance at the end of the day. And so she comes back to say, I've not gotten the balance. And at that point, there's very, very little that you can do. So the role of the police is very, very important when we're looking at, access to justice for a survivor of gender-based violence. So I would always recommend that we have an advisory board or an advisory body made up of seasoned lawyers who can advise on what the next steps are, especially if there is need for a class action. What do we do? How do we go about it? And also when there are cold cases. It happened to me when I was 15. I'm now 40 years old. And everybody says, oh, there's nothing that can be done. There's a lot that can be done. We have private investigators that can go to different communities, to ask questions about a particular perpetrator. Or is it one person? Did it happen to other persons? So how do we build up the cases in order to ensure that we have the jurisprudence that is needed when it comes to rape and sexual and gender-based violence? We do not have that. So that's a major gap for me. There is need for that advisory board, and there is need to have a private investigation team, maybe by the police, maybe by an organization, maybe by an individual that is skilled in investigation and prosecution of cases of rape and sexual violence in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Itoro. I mean, that was, I mean, in that short time, you've given really so much information. I must say some of it harrowing. The statistics are just, I mean, I've dealt with criminal cases and family cases where, you see a lot of harm involved, but really I'm staggered when I hear about the ages of the survivors. I think this is a lot of information that doesn't come out in the media, and then of course describing the process. I mean, it's harrowing enough for a survivor who's experienced sexual assault, but then to actually go through the process, the procedure with the police, with the courts, with the DPP, back to the police again, having to money exchanging hands. There's just a total lack of, like you say, any credible system that caters for like say survivors, even the suspected perpetrators as well. Complete breakdown. And then you have put forward that there needs to be a body of seasoned lawyers, yes, prosecutors, private investigators, and who can assist in building up a case. Because even as I was saying earlier on when we started, that even prosecution of sexual offenses in the UK is very challenging, in terms of the evidence that needs to be gathered, in terms of the survivor, the witness having to give evidence in court. And for example, issues of consent, because a lot of cases that I think we come across in the UK of sexual offenses, sometimes the perpetrator is actually known to the victim, either in a familiar manner or former intimate partner. And that has and I know there are a lot of resources put into it. We actually have prosecutors who receive training, specialist training in prosecuting and defending sexual offenses. So I hope that, you know, with time going forward, this is something we could explore in more detail. So thank you very much for that. Now, we have talked a lot about the police. So, of course, I'm going to put the police on the spot now.
So I'll be inviting a few comments from my friend Unskan Etuk. Unskan I met quite a few years ago. He is a serving officer with the Metropolitan Police. He has been doing that job for the past 18 years. Unskan holds a number of hats. At the moment, he's appearing with us as a convener of the Nigerian Police Association UK. And this is a body that has interacted with the Nigerian police in Nigeria. And Unskan and I have worked on various projects in the UK as well. I can tell you that Unskan is also a Stop and Search Advisory Board member for Southwark and Lambeth, London boroughs. And he's also the Policing Safeguarding Lead for the British Nigerian Safeguarding Council. Unskan also does work as a columnist for the Nigerian Watch newspaper in the UK. And he is a member of the International Police Development Partnership.
Hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Babs, I just want to say thank you for setting up this program, bringing together all the esteemed colleagues to talk about our experiences and try and find ways forward in dealing with the issues that is faced by Nigeria. Now, with regards to the Nigerian police force, yes, we had a lot of experience dealing with them. And in 2015, my organization, that I'm one of the directors of, the Nigerian Police Association in the UK, we traveled out to Nigeria, and we traveled out to Nigeria to work with the Nigerian police force in the hope of developing a partnership to promote modernization of policing operations, procedures, support our fellow brothers and sisters in developing the infrastructure which we felt would help our communities back home in Nigeria. Now, we compiled a detailed report when we were out there, and I'm going to be very honest with you. There was a lot of issues that we came across, and some of the accounts which have been mentioned during the course of this meeting, those stories we experienced in our dealings with the Nigerian police force. There were some positives. You do have out there some highly trained individuals within the infrastructure, but training facilities were not up to scratch. There was so much issues with technology. We didn't have, when we were going there looking at the different systems that they were employing, there was no, the systems that they're using were, in terms of what we experienced over here, we're talking about possibly around 30 years behind. Now, there was opportunities for quick wins. We identified opportunities for quick wins, but there needs to be a will in place. There has to be a will in place to support the development, the modernization, and it was quite sad. And let me just give you a bit of give you some reasoning into our motivations for why we took the approach we did. Over here, we've got some of the most experienced officers from the Nigerian community in the diaspora. Individuals who are highly trained in all different walks of policing. The basics, you mentioned about managing scenes in order to obtain best evidence to present for prosecutions. We have individuals that have been doing this for years at the highest levels. And it's difficult for us over here, seeing what's going on in Nigeria, and with the skills that we've been blessed with, we've been privileged to attain, not to be able to give an input and guidance to our colleagues over there. But for us, there were still blockages in terms of getting our programs up and running over there. There needs to be a will for modernization. There has to be, and there has to be supported. I mean, our report was about 20 pages long about different areas in which we can help the Nigerian police service. We broke it down into short, quick-term wins, things that can be achieved in the first 100 days, long-term and mid-term strategies as well. We did that report in 2015, and the sad thing is, it's still relevant. 90% of the content is still relevant till today. And that is just epitomizing the slow movement and change what's going on in the Nigerian police force. Now, I'm not trying to be too overly critical because we can only go by what we saw. But as I keep emphasizing, there has to be a will for change. So that is just my basic observations from regards to the Nigerian police force. We over here, we've got, as I said, we've got quite a lot of skilled officers that would be happily, readily available to advise on ways in which we can move things forward. And for us, it's not just a professional courtesy. This is our nation. This is what motivates us.
Yeah.
We want our skills to benefit our future generations. I remember hearing recently when talking about the End SARS movement, how the youth have been failed by previous generations and current generations. We want our future generations to benefit from our skills, our experience, our knowledge and expertise. So our motivation is there. It just needs the will for change. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Oscan. Was it Abuja you went to? Or where was it?
Okay, yes. So we went to Abuja, the federal capital territory, and we looked at we assessed the IT infrastructure. We looked at the investigatory teams. We looked at some of the more proactive police force operations that they had over there. We saw quite a few different departments, insurance, medical healthcare, admin. We had a chance to look at, we had a good chance to look at quite a lot of the various departments that they have over there and make assessments on ways in which we could benefit. We saw benefits that could help develop the progression which they want to achieve.
Yes. In fact, funnily enough, I think 2015, I was in Abuja at the time, and I did some work with the Federal Ministry of Justice and the National Security or Office of the National Security Advisor. But of course, I'd started the work in 2014, managed to actually get traction to begin to engage with various officials at the beginning of 2015. Then, of course, I think by February or March, there are the elections. So, of course, the Jonathan administration, then we had the Buhari administration. So all the kind of officials that I had begun to engage with, of course, all lost their jobs. So the work and that kind of building up that trust was all gone, and you had to start again. And I think also within that period, there were so many changes of inspector generals of police.
Yes.
I think whether a period of 12 months, you had like 2 or 3 IGPs. So there was no way you could actually get anything going. So like you say, the kind of lack of political will, or perhaps more crucially, the political interference in what is actually a professional job hinders, I think, effectiveness. I mean, it's interesting to hear that they have things like medical health care and admin and insurance and so forth, because I know even with the NSAS protesters, that I think that was part of their demands, that really the police need to be well resourced. I mean, if we expect them to do their jobs of preventing crime and really protecting citizens. So yes, thank you for that. I mean, really what has been said by you, Unskan, Itoro, and Adedumade, it almost feels kind of overwhelming in terms of where does one even start, and is there really going to be any change?
Babs, can I quickly add, interject as well?
Yeah.
There are opportunities out there. If we can develop partnerships out there, advisory partnerships, as what you're trying, we're trying to achieve with this group.
Yes.
We have a lot of experience. We have individuals that can balance out the infrastructure issues over there, some of the cultural understanding and awareness that is needed when implementing systems into the Nigerian police force. Because one of the issues that we did see, you can't just bring something over from the UK, from modernized systems over here, and think, wow, yeah, this works brilliantly over here. Let's bring it to Nigeria and it's going to work hunky-dory. No, it's not the case. You need to have a cultural understanding. There needs to be a lot more awareness of the different issues and that is faced out there, and as well as the infrastructural issues and challenges. So, but as you know, we are all Nigerian over here. We understand our culture. We understand the challenges, and we can take that into consideration when developing systems that will benefit and help our country modernize. As I said, there are definitely, when we did our assessment, there was quite a lot of quick wins that could be implemented, but it just needs the will.
Yes. Yes. I think you are right on that. And I'm interested. It's interesting when you say that there are individuals that one can actually approach so that whatever we try and do with this group, is effective. I think I've come to realize that, just carrying our laptops or whatever, getting on the plane and saying, we're Nigeria and we're coming to help you modernize, is just not going to happen. To make the change we are seeking. But I think I think in the remaining few minutes, let's open up the floor and just see whether we can have short questions or comments, and especially as to the way forward. As I said before, that this hopefully is the start of ways where we can build our collective, our individual expertise, and offer whether various state institutions those skills we have, and how we could assist them. So is there anyone who wants to maybe comment on what we've heard so far, or perhaps prefer some solution in the start? Is Dele, are you still there, Mr. Oshinuga?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here, Babs.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, very interesting discussion. Yes, I did hear. I guess, Babs, you want me to kind of obviously give an overview or insight into obviously my experience in the UK, in Europe, Kosovo, and currently in Belize, which I would say, especially with Belize as well, being common law, and the challenges in Belize are actually similar to the challenges we have in Nigeria. So, we've heard, we do have, sorry for the, one of the officers here is his birthday tomorrow, so there's a lot of, let me close my office door, sorry about that, because I think there's a lot of background noise.
I think you are muted now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now? Yes. Sorry. In terms of legislation, Nigeria has has very good legislation. And as we've heard from practitioners, when it comes to actual practice, there are a lot of challenges in place. One of the areas, I've looked at and I've actually written articles about is looking at the enforcement of human rights. We have, the human rights legislation enshrined in the Constitution, the African Charter as well, and looking at as to how this can be justiciable. And I know the new Administration of Justice Acts, the federal one, Lagos State has had theirs for at least, others can correct me. I think Lagos State has had theirs for about 10 years now, if not more than 10 years. And there are different provisions there which allow for those seeking redress and remedies to be able to obtain that from the courts, and also to ensure that there's accountable systems. The objective of our group is good, and also to be able to talk to the different strategic stakeholders within the criminal justice service. But one of the challenges I know that we'll face in Nigeria is, how would I put this? Obviously we have the NSAS thing, is challenging some of the perceptions and the mindsets of some of those, particularly those in government. As practitioners, it's not a problem. We don't have that challenge. And when I say practitioners, I also include those that are working in government in Nigeria. But I'm talking about the elected government, because there is a role, particularly for the legislature, in driving a lot of these initiatives forward. The legislature, unfortunately, they don't seem to realize the amount of power that they have. And if we could also reach out to them through this network, to reach out to those in legislature, to be able to drive those changes, because a lot of it will come from them as well. And of course, civil society in Nigeria, there are a lot of excellent organizations, which a lot of us are familiar with, who work with some of the areas we want to work with. NOPRIM, the Open Society as well. there are a lot of brilliant organizations who do that. And the experience, at least that we have, we're able to share with them. Having worked in different jurisdictions. And of course, we understand, the culture in Nigeria, so it's a lot easier for us. And when we look at officers in Nigeria who actually serve in peacekeeping operations around the globe under the UN umbrella or even the African Union mandates, they perform excellently well. And they've had commendations even as far as going back to the time when there was in Congo, the first crisis in Congo when Lumumba was killed. So it's not that we don't have the capabilities. And in our experience in Nigeria as well, we've seen very good officers, fine officers. But the challenges, are kind of enormous, and hopefully with this, we're able to address that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that. And I like the idea about the legislators, and of course, some of them have a legal background, and I think very much in terms of I think Nigerians, citizens in general, we need to learn to be able to lobby our legislators, whether in the National Assembly, State Assembly, or even local government chairmen. Because even just to gently prod them and say, look, what are you doing? Or put our views forward. That might be a way forward. So thank you for that. I don't know whether there was another hand raised or anybody who wanted to speak in particular. If not, let me see. How about Mr. Afolabi? Temi Afolabi, presuming that's Mr. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you.
Hello. Sorry.
You're not the first one to make that mistake, so that's fine.
Thank you. Well, welcome to the group. Would you want to tell us a bit about yourself and any comments you have, please?
Yes, I am one of the analysts actually with the Metropolitan Police Force.
Okay.
And I recently joined the Nigerian Police Association. So thank you, Mr. Insikan, for inviting me to this, because this was very insightful. I've done a bit of work on domestic abuse and on rape and serious sexual offences. So, a lot of the things that Madam Matoro said really, really got to me. But one thing she mentioned, I think we have something similar here in the UK, which is early investigation advice. Mr. Insikan, you can probably attest to that, which might be useful, where police officers are able to go to, I think, lawyers to get information on sort of what to do and what processes to go through for rape cases. So that's kind of my comment there. If we can look into something like that and see if we can develop it or implement it somehow, which would be great.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for this. This has been great, very insightful.
Thank you. Actually, as Itoro was talking about, Lagos State and its family support units, I wonder whether maybe as a starting point, it could be we got someone from that unit or whatever to tell us what they're doing and maybe how we can support them as a start. And well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Ogun State also seems to be moving in the right direction in terms of getting a system going, because I think what a lot of the speakers have alluded to, and what I have noticed myself, is that there seems to be lack of communication or coordination between various agencies, whether it's the investigating officer and the DPP's office, or even the court service itself. Everybody just seems to be doing their own thing. And then for the survivor or the victim or the witness, you're having to speak to different people. You're having to fund your own prosecution and so forth. So this kind of joined up thinking, which actually was what I was trying to introduce when I did something on kind of terrorism prevention. And I think I discovered that there are maybe about 15 or probably more law enforcement agencies in Nigeria. Most of them are federal. There might be some states run such agencies, and some of them have prosecutorial powers of arrests. They carry arms and so forth, but they're just in kind of silos of their own and silo mentality, and there's nothing like a system in force. But like I say, Ogun State, there seems to be some measure of trying to make some moves in that respect. And I've been in touch recently with the Attorney General from that state, and I know he's amenable to, actually speaking. So that might be a way forward. Okay, just we've got 5 minutes left. So what I would say is that, we must continue the conversation. I would want to hold this seminar again. What are we? No later than a month's time. It might be that I'll be able to get different speakers then. But just before we round off, okay, I just want to say thank you very much to Adedumade. I know that you said you were on the road and you have to make your way. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Itoro. If I may just pick randomly Yomi Thomas, where I can see his picture. I know Yomi is a man because he's wearing a gold tie.
He's definitely a man.
Oh yes, he definitely am a man.
Right.
He's
so,
a good man.
Hello, Yomi. Are you also part of Unskan's clan?
Yes, I was part of the team that went to Nigeria with Insikan, and I handled the technology bit because that's my background. I've been within the security environment now for almost 20 years, and I've just majored on technology and how that enhances police productivity and operability, to be honest. And everything that Isika said more or less is true, because we were obviously contributors to the report that was presented. I think the key thing that I want to throw into the hat is, as much as we can go on about reforming the police environment, we also need to see that reformation within the judicial system. There is no point doing the police without the judicial system, because if you get the police right, by the time the cases get to court and you're still seeing corruption, there's no technology, people are backward in how they operate, then it's just going to frustrate our officers, our investigators, and so on and so forth. And it's very, very key. I will cite a very good example. About 2 or 3 years ago, I was in Abuja to follow up on some of the findings whilst trying to push the quick wins that Nsika talked about within the police, just to see how they can adopt it, which was very key. I had an opportunity to speak to the head of forensic in EFCC. And one of the things that he said, which was quite alarming, is that the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. While EFCC can be investigating suspect A, the moment they bail them, the Nigerian police force go in and arrest the same suspect for something similar. So you have that conflict, you have that, it's just a mess. It's just totally a mess, And one of the things that I also notice is that it looks as if the country authorities just thrive in chaos, because that's how they make their money. So it's not that they're not intelligent people there, as Nsika alluded to. It's not that they don't know what to do, or having the right procedures or policies in place. It's just that once you bring in order, then the avenue to make money is just totally gone. If you have a victim of crime who's coming in to report a crime to the police, and the police are saying that before you take a statement, they take a statement, you have to pay them. It just doesn't sound right. It really doesn't sound nice. So some of the examples that our sister Itoro gave, I wasn't surprised, whatsoever. And it's amazing that till today, some of those practices are still very prevalent. So, like I said to Nsika and I, we obviously we discuss a lot. I've just said that, look, it is only an insane man that keeps doing the same thing and expect a different result. I am tired of talking, and that's the honest truth. I'm tired of going. I'm tired of speaking to the same, to people, and then there's a change in reading, which is what Babs said, he experienced, and everything then just disappears. And then he's like, you have to start the process all over again. I'm tired of it, and that's the honest truth. So we have to be very, innovative in whatever we're trying to put down and present, and to present to Nigeria, whether it's the police, whether it's the judicial system. We just have to be proactive, innovative in what we do, because the same thing is not going to work. You're just going to find yourself talking and talking. It's like you're on a treadmill, you're running, you're sweating, but you're not moving. That's the best way I can describe it. So that's my own little contribution to that.
No, thank you very much. I think you've hit it. You've hit the nail on the head about how do we do things differently. We're also committed, and we all have stories to tell about how what we've done in the past, but it's how to be smarter at getting the message through. So please, I would ask you, if you don't have my email address, Unscan has it, would put it out there. Just let me know. Let's share ideas. One of the things I was going to raise was, how do we communicate with each other? But I mean, that's something we can develop as we go along, to kind of share what we can do to be effective, and how we even the legal structure of our group. Now, I'm conscious of the time and so forth, but I know that there is I think it's Idowu wants to say a few words. Idowu Adeyemi.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see if I can. Okay. Thank you. I also work with the Met Police. I work from the Child Abuse Investigation Team.
Okay.
I've worked in domestic violence. I've also been a SOE officer, somebody that deals with the victims, that rape victims. And I'm actually happy to be part of this meeting. And I'm happy that people are trying their best. The thing is, we have to keep on trying. We don't give up. Nsukka, when they went to Nigeria in 2015, we were made aware of what they were trying to do. Even when they came back, what challenges they faced. But as we all know, it's our country and it's our motherland. I'm happy about what I heard about Itoro, Eza, and about what she has done and what she has even done in Sokoto. And I'm surprised. I mean, these are things you do not hear in the news.
No.
Because what I tend to tell my family when they look at the news and they sort of say, oh, we're going to do this. I said, look, we need people that are actually on the ground. And this is from people that are on the ground so that we know a way forward. Communication is vital, as you've said. I'll ask Nsukka about your email address. But what I also want to know is, how do we put pressure? Because if one tactic does not work, then we've got to come up with another. The lawmakers, the people who are in the House of Reps, how do we mount pressure on them? You said something about lobbying. I mean, if you look at these advanced countries, for example, this country, America, if they want something done, they lobby. How do we go about doing that? From the diaspora, how do we pressurize them? Because there's got to be a weak point somewhere. There's got to be a weak surface you can press, and they will feel that pain. Because being here, I for one feel like, what can I do? I'd like to participate. Workshops from the grassroots level, because these laws you're talking about, I didn't even know we had them. I did not know we have them. Hearing this to me is a surprise. How do we execute them? What can we do to put pressure on people who are in places that can do it? We've got human resources. We have them. We've got people that have knowledge. We don't lack that. But how do we mount pressure? Those are the things, if you enlighten us, look, we could go, even if it's going to be a backdoor. Because I was looking at the news. Look at America, for example, because when I speak at home, people say, okay, what can we do? I say, look, if you look at the countries we seem to be copying, if you look at America, we see them as the advanced countries. But look at the two people they've produced to become the next president. And those are the people we emulate, we copy. You copy an advanced country like America, you are going to copy their ills, because they've got ills in their system as well. Yeah. You bring that on board. We can do things that will suit ourselves, our culture. We'll copy a few things, but we've also got an idea of how to deal with them that will suit us, suit our people, suit our culture. Let's start adapting to that. For example, when I say grassroots level, we've got people, the market women, workshops that will tell them that, look, this is what the law says. This is your right. People in the offices, for example, the police officer, I mean, I've been in the Met for about 15, 16 years. Even in the Met, we learn to work with each other, because the unit I work in is Child Abuse Investigation. When you do investigations that has happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we talk about forensics, the forensics may not be there, but there could be a history. And as one of my colleagues has said, prosecuting even that in the UK can be difficult. But we've got social services, we've got housing. So we've got all those units in Nigeria as well. Let's link up with them. form a forum that will involve them. Those members of reps, bring them on board. Let them know what's going on. You need to go into your locality, provide things that actually educate them, and you familiarize yourself with it. Because I don't understand if you've been a member of the rep, you go to the House of Assembly, but within your vicinity, you don't know much about what's going on there. So I don't know if you can put pressure on them, lobby, backhand, whatever. Let's play it at their own game. And let's look for a way, because there has to be a way forward. There will be.
Yes. Thank you very much, Du. Sorry, who was saying something?
No, I was just saying, well said. Well said.
All right. Yes, definitely. Definitely well said. Definitely well said from all the speakers and all those who have commented. I think, you have all spoken from the heart. And, I am just so thankful, so grateful that, you've all agreed to share this evening with me, because really we're all on the same page. So going forward, like I say, I plan to hold this event again. What I'm going to do is also get some speakers. I mean, very much a Nigerian focused event, because I think as you have said, we need to it's about Nigeria, so we need to hear from those who are in Nigeria. And really, especially those who are in positions of authority, to come and speak to us, to tell us what they think is happening, and also to be able to learn from us and know us, and know that they can come to us and bring a particular issue. So, for example, Itoro has raised the issue about prosecutions, cold cases, and so forth. Now, if, for example, we had somebody from that unit, family support unit in Lagos or in Ogun State or in Anambra State or wherever, and so forth, and then they can hear from people like you, like Idowu, Yomi, Temi, the different skills you can bring to the table, and show how these things can work. And also, as has been said, we're not just looking at the police. I mean, police is just one part of the jigsaw. Also the judiciary, also correctional services, social services. I mean, there are so many professionals that actually play a part in the judicial system, because as we know, for example, a lot of offenders have kind of mental health issues. So actually bringing that into the fore, that's really where I want to go with this. So like I said, thank you very much from all of you, from London, from Belize, from Lagos, probably other parts of Nigeria as well. I'm ever so grateful. And let's keep in touch, and I would give you the date of the next meeting. And but in the meantime, like I say, my details is available to everyone, and let's share what we can, and any ideas put forward, and I will disseminate as well. So I'll just end by saying, I wish you all a good weekend, and God bless.